Hi everyone, this is my condition presentation. The topic that I have is gender dysphoria and I'm student A. So I'm going to provide you guys with a brief overview on gender dysphoria, as well as there's a video after this slide which is someone who is diagnosed with gender dysphoria and they're in the process of transitioning from male to female. So a lot of the videos that I found on YouTube were basically people who have the diagnosis and how they feel about the diagnosis and how society treats them. So I just wanted to include that just so that everyone can kind of get an idea of how it feels to kind of have this diagnosis. Something else that I also want to mention before I get to that is that there was something that was highlighted in the text which I thought was really important. And it basically says that there's a caution thing for gender dysphoria, and it basically says that many clinicians and members of advocacy groups argue that issues related to gender choice should not be included at all in the DSM-5, that gender choice is a matter of personal preference, not a mental disorder. So again, I just wanted people to be aware of that because I did come across many things where people were arguing that gender dysphoria is not technically a mental illness. Something else that I came across was that gender dysphoria and gender identity disorder are used interchangeably as terms. There we go. So this is the criteria for gender dysphoria in children. This is directly out of the DSM-5. So it didn't give an age range for children, but from my personal experience as well as the research that I did to put this PowerPoint together, from what I found, it was just that like children can have these feelings as early as the age of like 2 or 3. And I believe they can be diagnosed starting between the ages of like 5 and 6. So again, that information is not definite. That's kind of just like what I came across as a whole in the census. And basically, for the diagnostic criteria for children is a definite difference between experienced/expressed gender and the one assigned at birth of at least 6 months duration. At least 6 of the following must be present. And these are the criteria that they have to meet. There's 8 here, so at least 6 have to be here. A few things that I want to highlight, I'm not going to read all of them, but a few things that I want to highlight is a strong preference line that's in the beginning of most of them. In order to meet criteria, they want this to be a strong preference for the child to want playmates of the other gender. So, a lot of times, they say boys play with boys and girls play with girls. But someone who may be diagnosed with gender dysphoria, they don't want any boyfriends. They just want like all friends who are girls. For those who feel as though for those who are born as boys and and feel like they were meant to be a girl. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out. Something else that I wanted to point out, which was the cross-gender roles in pretend play, as well as playing with stereotypical toys used by the other gender. So I'm talking about like a kid who is biologically a boy, but they think they're meant to be a girl. So they're watching like all of like the girl shoes, wanting to be in like the Barbie aisles for the toy store, and cross-gender roles in pretend play basically is just if they're playing dress up, then they want dresses. There's not really a preference to have like tools and that sort of thing. So again, these are all 8 criteria. I'm not going to read all of them, but if you have any questions, just please feel free to reach out to me. And then this is the criteria for adolescent and adults. Again, there wasn't any specific criteria in regards to ages, but again, something that I came across was that a lot of times that this diagnosis comes around the age of puberty. So basically, it's kind of for girls, puberty begins at the ages of like 10 up until 14, and for boys, it's like 12 to 16. So I know a lot of times for kids too, when they if they're going to transition because they don't feel comfortable, because they think they're meant to be a boy and they're not comfortable with being a girl, they don't want to develop breasts. So around the age of puberty is when they'll like talk to their doctor or their psychiatrist, and they can get medication in order to stop that. And then for girls, again, they'll take medication so that they can for like hormone medication and that sort of thing. So, oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned this earlier too. So again, something that I want to highlight is a lot of times for gender dysphoria, you'll hear the term transition, because again, they think that they're meant to be a girl. They've always meant to be a girl. They're meant to be a girl. It was they weren't born the right sex. So what they do is call it transition. So they'll start the process of, either growing out their hair, cutting their hair, trying to stop certain things from puberty, name changing, a lot of things. Famously, Caitlyn Jenner, she went from being Bruce Jenner. So for adolescents and adults, it says that a definite mismatch between the assigned gender and experienced/expressed gender for at least 6 months duration as characterized by at least 2 or more of the following features. So again, there are 6 here, so 2 of them have to be present in order for the diagnosis to come about. And again, this has like the same wording as a strong desire, a strong preference, a lot of times for adolescent and adults, they have a strong desire to be of the other gender. So, and they feel as though like they have like the typical feelings and the reactions of the other gender that they were born. So that's just something that I wanted to highlight and make sure pinpointed, um, Again, I'm not going to read all of them, but if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. When I worked as a case manager in mental health before my current position, I had a 6-year-old client who had this diagnosis, so I kind of had a lot of information on resources available for clients and families, so I found it to be very helpful, found it to be very educational. I think people embrace the diagnosis more once they're more educated on it. So that's it pretty much. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, for us social workers, this is a tough diagnosis to give, because it's a very sensitive topic. Again, people feel as though they should choose to be their gender, and it's not a mental illness. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And these are my references.